Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
You are listening to Scream with Ryan C. Showers, the podcast for Scream fans just like you. Join Ryan every week as he takes a deep dive into the horror film series that defined the 90s and redefined the genre. Scream with Ryan C. Showers is your source for scene and quote analysis, character dissections, and the latest news about upcoming installments of the Scary Movie franchise.
I hear you like horror movies, Kirby, but do you like them as much as him?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Scream with Ryan C. Showers podcast, where the film critic meets the Scream fan twice a week, every Tuesday and Friday. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. Now, before I go any further, I need to thank the producers of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. They include Ashley Summers from the Squirrel and Spud Shop. She and I host a Scream game every Wednesday on Instagram, so please check that out. I also need to thank TJ Jones, who comes from the Box Office Buds podcast. He is responsible for all of the graphic design of Scream with Ryan C. Showers in terms of new episode cards on social media promotion. So thank you so much to TJ for all he does. I also need to thank contributors Mark Karim, Mark Vieira, and Joey Velisi. Joey Velisi is the guy who writes the scripts for Scream with Ryan C. Showers. Episode 112, we wrote a Scream 7 script, which I read out loud, about the end of the Carpenter sisters storyline. And then the sequel to that was called Screams. It was centered around the legacy of Gail Weathers. That's episode 155. And Joey is currently working on the final Scream, which this is a product that is going to examine the relationship, the marriage of Mark and Sydney. Unlike the real Scream 7, this will feature Mark Kincaid as Sydney's husband, and she won't have a teenage daughter. Both of her daughters will be young, so it'll be much different than the real Scream 7 we're going to get. But that is going to be coming to the podcast late summer, early fall, so please tune in for that. I need to thank everybody over at Patreon. Thank you to everybody who subscribes to the Patreon at any and every tier. I'm an independent entity, so any bit of support that comes into the Patreon goes back into the podcast. Joining the Patreon gets you ad-free and early access to every episode, as well as the opportunity to join the community of the show. We have group chats across social media. In particular, Instagram is really the hub of the podcast community. More importantly, joining the Patreon is the vessel in which you would use to come onto the podcast, either in a one-on-one situation with me or a small panel. In addition, there's a guaranteed invite every month to a big group Zoom recording about a Scream topic. An exciting feature of the podcast is the audio commentary episodes. Every Scream fan knows what it was like listening to Wes Craven do the audio commentaries for the original trilogy and Scream 4, with Marianne Maddalena and Kevin Williamson and Patrick Lussier. And what I'm trying to do for my Patreon subscribers is I am going to be performing an audio commentary of a Scream or a Scream-related movie, one per month, every month. And my goal is to try to approach these as I'm doing deep analytical analysis about the characters, about the themes, about just general reaction. So it's something that I'm really proud of and I hope continues to be a cherished part of the podcast. So the commentary is available as a normal podcast episode for anybody to listen to like they would any other podcast, but it will also be available as a video watch along. So everybody, please go over to Patreon, subscribe to Scream with RCS. I would be eternally grateful. So I need to go through and thank everybody over at Patreon who is subscribed as a stab investor or a daddy/mama Ghostface. So the daddy/mama Ghostface of the Patreon are Carrie Tenney, Brett Janovich, Corey Wilson, and Stevie Shears. The stab investors include Allie, Mark Karim, Tamika Jones, David D., Garrison Nichols, Gustavo Mora, Jess Mariano, Joey Nobarini, aka The Vault, Josh Calamari, Josh Carr, Scream Queens podcast, both Josh and Justine, The Horror Project podcast, Justin Weir, Kevin Abner, Mark Vieira, PWO5, aka Philip Douglas, Quentin Harrison, and Sam Levy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers, and we are covering Scary Movie today for the audio commentary of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. This is the June 2025 audio commentary, one of the last episodes of season 4. And this is on the heels of the Scary Movie 25th anniversary. It came out, of course, in, what was the release date? July 7th in the year 2000. So I plan on having a Scary Movie episode with the patrons of Scream with Ryan C. Showers and some other people closer to the anniversary date in July. But this episode is just going to be me watching the film, reacting to the film through a Scream lens, may I say. And talking about what scary movies impact on the culture was, but also on the Scream franchise. Because, I mean, this is literally, it's half a Scream movie, right? It's literally, it features Ghostface. It follows the plot of Scream and recycles the plot of Scream in order to make some statement about Scream. But, I actually think that, like, a lot of people could look at Scary Movie and find it to be insulting of Scream. I don't see it that way. I see it as like an honoring of Scream, because most of the things that happen in this movie are exaggerations of the actual depictions of things in the films themselves, in terms of Scream 1, 2, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. And there's other film movies sprinkled in here and there. But it's very cool that Scream was honored in this way and took on a whole new life in the form of Scary Movie. So, and of course, we all know that Kevin Williamson's original script for Scream was called Scary Movie. So getting to relive that is very cool. There was some other alternative title for Scary Movie, which was like, I Know What You Did Last Scream If You Know It, Scream If I Know What You Did Last Halloween, or something like that, which I'm glad they didn't use. I think it's, it's fitting in a way, but I think Scary Movie is simpler. And it also just kind of makes the comment on, so Scary Movie is very like the complete opposite of Scream in a lot of ways. Scary Movie, both of them are seen as self-referential, self-aware films. But like with Scream, there's a commentary going on about horror movies, whereas with Scary Movie, it's just a flat out parody. And I think that like that's where you have to recognize like where Scream does take itself seriously, Scary Movie doesn't. And I think the key to enjoying Scary Movie is to just go along with its vibe. And this movie, I will say, is not for everybody. It's not for everyone, especially if you're a Scream fan. I think that there's a lot of humor here that is kind of outdated, but also very male. It's very boy humor as opposed to something that all people can enjoy, and including my producer Ashley. So typically she sits here while I do these audio commentaries, and she was not able to, but she watched it and she was like, Ryan, I hate this. So, I didn't expect her to love it. So, and I'm going to talk about my journey with Scary Movie as we go through the film. But anyways, so happy 25th anniversary to the Wayans brothers for this very funny movie and this other life to the Scream franchise. So everybody, you can listen to this as a regular podcast episode, just in your car, on your walk, whatever, or you can actually have the movie on and listen to me as though I'm speaking over the movie like a filmmaker would in an audio commentary that we used to get in the 90s, 2000s. So yeah, okay. Well, so for those people who are going to be watching the film as I speak, I'm going to give a countdown so that we can be synced up, so that way you and I are on the same timestamp. So, okay, so you'll want to have pressed play, and you want the time clock to be at 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so yeah, okay, I'm gonna count down for when I'm gonna press play from 0, 0, 0 to 0, 0, 1. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, and play. Okay, we're rocking and rolling. Let's do it. I see the Dimension logo. Oh my gosh, because that's the other thing that's funny about Scary Movie is the fact that it was a Dimension Films, Weinstein produced film. And so so already we're starting out at the faux Casey Becker scene, right? And it's played by Carmen Electra doing the Drew Barrymore. We saw the swing. We saw the big house. Funny, right? Same dialogue. Oh, and a fart. The fart versus the popcorn. Oh my god. Yeah. See, here's one missed opportunity for them. They could have done something with the knife where she pulls the knife out too far and it flips up in the air. Like, that would have been funny. Come on. So here comes the popcorn. I will say, like, the house does look very similar to the Casey Becker house. They did a nice job of like, yeah. Okay, here we go. So, Scary Movie's making, we get to see Ghostface, the first side of Ghostface, much different than Scream, right? But see what your insides look like. Turn to page 54 again. Boy humor. I'm sorry. This is a very male humor thing. The one thing about this scene, the opening scene, it's very funny and very on point, but it's very quick. I feel like we jump so quick into it. Whereas Casey Becker, we build up to her. How'd you know? My boyfriend dresses up like a woman. Oh, come on. And whereas Stephen Orth, okay, come on. Oh, yeah. That's not my boyfriend. I fucked him a couple of times. Oh my god. Yeah. I think that Carmen Electra was an appropriate choice to play Casey because she has a similar kind of star quality, but like in a not great way. So it's like a nice comparable. Oh my god, the popcorn being like 10 times big, like that is so funny. I give them credit for that. Like, oh my god, hysterical, so funny, and that's humor that's not based in sex or perversion. Do you see the screen poster? The screen poster is on the wall next to the front door. Oh my god, how fun is that? That is some meta shit right there. And that's why I think there's a little bit of this respect. So, what Scary Movie's trying to do, I think, is like with this scene, is like show how possibly Scream is illogical, right? That's kind of the whole point is like, oh, and the iconic moment of Ghostface shaking the knife. Hello, Drew. Again, so on brand. We have a knife, gun. Oh my God. And she picks the banana. Again, somewhat sexual, right? I don't know. Yeah. I have to say, I do like the Ghostface. The costume, the actor, the stunt man. He is funny in this. Like his safety, death. I mean, that gif has been repeated over and over and over. See, Drew Barrymore does not run like that, but again, they emphasize it for comedic effect. And then Ghostface walking so slow. That's like Michael Myers slow, but it's even like more dorky and awkward. Just like the knife raised, and then oh my gosh. Okay, he tears the shirt off again. And the pants, like, so now she's just in her bra and underwear with the sprinklers. Again, I see where they're going. I see what they're doing. They're trying to point out, like, they're just taking the plot of Scream and replacing the tone, right? Which is fun. And of course, they let Carmen Electra pause and pose. And then her boob comes out, her fake boob. Okay, yeah. Again, almost play-by-play, reenactment of Drew Barrymore, with perverted college boy humor. Oh, yeah. And Mrs. Becker is giving Mr. Becker a blowjob or roadhead. Again, and they play on that and the fact that why don't Casey's parents hear her whenever she's getting killed? Which again is smart. I see their inspiration. I see the point that they're trying to make. But yeah. And now we're introduced to Cindy Campbell. Oh my gosh, I apologize. Played by Anna Faris, who this was like her big break, if I remember correctly. And she went on to be a big star, like in my era of in terms of comedy. Like she was on the CBS show Mom with Allison Janney. She was married to Chris Pratt. Not a great marriage from what we know, but yeah. They make Mr. Prescott into such a dork. Yeah. I mean, I mean, Mr. Campbell, I guess. Literally the same costumes, the same costume for Neil Prescott as Mr. Campbell here. Of course. And they're also kind of pointing out, like, we don't know what Neil Prescott really does for work and how he has so much money. And they're saying, oh, it's a drug deal. Yeah. Uh-huh. Even like this little scene that like kind of recreates the loving relationship we see of Sydney and her father, but with this drug lord humor involved. I don't know, guys. Come on. I don't really know much about drugs, but like, is this like is this humor so easy to glean for the common audience? I mean, obviously the movie made a fortune, right? I don't know. See, and here's the boy humor where it's just like, come on, the monkey's jerking himself off. We get it. See, now that's a really clever use of the Scream line. Yeah, this was my first time. and they're kind of recreating the scene verbatim, beat by beat, right? Um, and we hear the Dawson's Creek theme song. Also, again, spoofing the Kevin Williamson of it all. He's so important to Scream right now as the Scream 7 director, but like he was the king of the 90s. Not only was Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Oh, and there he is, James Vanderbeek from Dawson's Creek. Wrong set. I just started watching Dawson's Creek. So whenever I used to see a scary movie in my younger days, I didn't get it. I didn't get the song. I didn't get the cameo. That's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. And he just got shocked because there's a no trespassing protective electric fence around Sydney's genital area. Yeah. Okay. Ew. Ew. She plays Cindy with such a committed optimism and innocence. It's so fun. Regina Hall, oh my God, the best. Even when I didn't like Scary Movie, she was my favorite thing about it. Like, she makes me howl. And of course, we have the beginning, the first spotting of a Wayans brother here, because this movie was made by the Wayans brothers, directed, written. There's some drama about the writing credits in terms of Scary Movie. I'm not sure if you guys know, but hold on, I just need to get through this scene. This is hysterical. There's Buffy. She is such a hoe. Getting freaky in the pool. I look over and there's your girl with a backup dancer. That's nasty. That's lower than a security guard. She don't love herself. Oh my gosh. She is fake as press on nails. Hey, baby girl. Hysterical. Oh my God. Regina Hall. Again, like if it was played by anybody else but Regina Hall, would it be as funny? But so here's the thing. I'm going to be real honest. I don't love the casting of Buffy. I don't, I think they really should have had a blonde actress to look like Sarah Michelle Gellar. I don't mind the name. The name, is very on point. And like, again, because Buffy, again, was such a integral part to the culture of the 90s, it makes sense why we would call the character that, but she looks something like Sarah Michelle Gellar. And I don't know, I don't like the actress. I think the red hair was a mistake. Because you could have had like a Tatum reference and stop killing animals, right? Kind of making fun of the activism. They cannot do that today, making fun of homeless people. But yet Cindy's the nice one. She knows the real thing. And the Wayans brothers so cynically take that generosity and throw it at her. Yeah. There's something very smart in that. I'm sorry, but like, because like, often we're preached to that you have to do this and you have to do that. And the Wayans brothers like, no, this is how people really are. We like it. We love Gale Hailstorm. Oh my gosh. 2 teens dead. She's hysterical. So that actress was on SNL, and what's her name? White folks are dead and we are getting the fuck out of here. Hilarious. And that I think is obviously an allusion to Joel, but like also, I was trying to get into it earlier, but like the Wayans brothers imprint on Scary Movie as black filmmakers for, directing and writing. That's hysterical. See, I just pulled my tongue out of her ass. Yeah, gross. Run, bitch, run. So funny. Another Wayne's brother. Here we are. So I and anyways, like so, scary movie is important because the Wayne's brothers kind of had an opportunity. They broke through in a way that like a lot of black filmmakers haven't, especially like in the era of like motion picture comedies, right? And there's some drama and controversy about like the writing credits. Like there were other people who were credited alongside the Wayans brothers, even though this was their vision. And that a lot of people say that this is the reason it was greenlit, and there's some, there's a lot of production malfeasance, right? But regardless, I'm happy that the Wayans brothers were able to bring their vision to the big screen, and that it was successful, and uncompromised in terms of like the content. And it does feel like, even though it's very offensive to women in a lot of respects, and gay people and whatever else, there is a voice behind it that does feel somewhat not straight white guy. You know what I mean? That's it comes through. And of course, here we are, the fountain. In some respects, you look at Scary Movie and it's so synonymous with Scream. But, an underrated thing about Scary Movie is that it is intertwined with I Know What You Did Last Summer as well, right? It's not just, and like they're both like the Kevin Williamson films. They were both like the two huge smash hits from the 90s that were that defined the subgenre of like, kind of self-referential smarty pants teens in slasher movies, right? And where there's a murder mystery. And that's what Scary Movie is playing with. And even though that Scream occupies, I would say, 70% of the plot, the other 30% is I Know What You Did Last Summer. And so we're seeing a literal recreation of I Know What You Did Last Summer here. And in my opinion, I think I Know What You Did Last Summer is more spoofable than Scream. And I think that they hit all of the points here with this sequence. It's interesting to conflate the Scream characters with the I Know What You Did Last Summer characters, because everybody is a stand-in for somebody else here, for the most part. I like the Ryan Phillippe, you play with my ass. Yeah. Pop, pull the finger out, pop. A cassette, a video, a little... That was kind of like before my time. I was like, as a kid, I was on the heels of like that, the little, I don't know, what are they called? Box music things? I don't know. Before CDs, I maybe had a couple, whatever they're called. Who knows? It's Raining Men, of course, kind of like alluding to the fact that Ray is gay, right? Or bisexual, or he's not straight as a board, hetero, blah, blah. And here's a funny joke about underwear and laundry day, and like, yeah, making the point, like, do all teenage girls have sexy underwear like that, ready to go for boys to play with and objectify in sex scenes like this? This guy who is playing Barry from I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Ryan Phillippe stand-in, very fun, very cute. Yeah. See, again, here we are with Roadhead. Yeah, more Roadhead, and Billy's having the time of his life. Great. Or Bobby, sorry. Same difference. And they hit the fisherman. Okay. So, yeah. You know what's crazy about the Scary Movie is how much money it fucking made. Let's talk about this. So domestically, let's just say the budget was 19 million. Okay, that's kind of like on par with like a Scream 5's budget, which is crazy to think, right? 20 years later, really. So the opening weekend was 42 million. Oh my god, that is like Scream 6 in 2023, and they both have R ratings. It's just wild to me that like Scary Movie made so much more of a splash than Scream did. Scream was known as a juggernaut and it only made, it made like 10 million less than that for its opening weekend for Scream 2 and 3. Oh. And then there's Ray looking curious, wanting to go to jail so he can be a sex slave for those convicts, right? Yeah. This is funny. Like, this is hysterical because this is kind of like the truth of I Know What You Did Last Summer. Ben Willis, he was fine, and like they all overreacted and assumed he was dead, and like so Scary Movie's like hitting it so hard at home, right? Over and over. Jumping the gun, like dumping in the ocean. He's like, take care, everybody. Oh my gosh. I won't have anything to do with this. Again, like how far away from that is Jennifer Love Hewitt? That's where Scary Movie gets my feels, or where I can watch it and I'm like cool with it, is like they're almost taking the dialogue verbatim and like the spirit verbatim, just changing the tone just a little bit, and it's just like making a huge other statement here. And here comes Shorty. I would say that like if I had to take like a wild stab, I actually think Shorty and the ghost face mask are like the two most iconic things from Scary Movie 1. Just because he's like the big comedic relief in a way that's over the top, right? I don't know. Yeah. The emphasis on drugs. Like, so here's the thing, like maybe I'm just naive, like I don't know. This is hysterical. The way that they keep banging his head into the trunk. Bang, bang, bang. Kind of forcing their fates here. But going back, like, so Scary Movie, overall, the domestic gross was $157 million. No Scream film has made that. Scream 6 was the most with 108 in 2023, so 23 years later. And Scary Movie still made 50 million more than Scream 6 did at the box office 20 years ago. That is insane. Who went and saw this movie? Like all these people who saw Scream, on VHS and thought they didn't like it. Like, it's just wild to me. If this were rated PG-13, I could get it because that opens up the door to, teenagers going to see it by themselves without their parents. But my God. And worldwide, it made $278 million. Again, that's $100 million more than Scream 1 made. That is crazy to me. Oh. Ransacking Ben Willis for his credit cards is funny. This dynamic here between the Ryan Phillippe character and Cindy Campbell is so funny. Shut up, Cindy. Wow, they really stripped him naked. They did not do that to Ben Willis. We take this to our grave. See, I love the original I Know What You Did Last Summer. I take all of its earnestness seriously. The vibe works for me, the direction works. But then you put it like this, and it's like, oh, hey, well, I mean, that's kind of what they're doing. Choking her, screaming, we take this to our grave. Ridiculous. Well, you just mentioned it. Yeah, such a low-hanging fruit. Now, I mean, was that like a common thing people said back in the 90s or the 2000s? Like, because I feel like that's something so easy, low-hanging fruit to like, kind of like engage with somebody on a funny level, is like, we can't say this ever again. We can't talk about this. Talk about what? Oh, this. Oh, you just did. Ugh, so funny. And now we're back into the Scream universe in front of the fountain, Jennifer Love, huge tits. Late 20s to play us, yeah. I find Gail Hillstorm to be hilarious. Okay, so going back to her, she's played by Sherry O'Terry from... she was on SNL. She was in a movie with Sarah Michelle Gellar called Southland Tales. I know that's a very niche reference, but like, I find her sense of humor, her aggressive voice to be hysterical. And Deputy Doofy. So here's the thing, Doofy is a very beloved character. People love to laugh at him. And, there's a lot going on here. And I don't really I'm not qualified to get into who Doofy is and what his problems are. But they're making fun of Dewey Riley, of course. And like, this is, of course, a copy and paste of the Gale and Dewey scene outside the school after Sydney gets attacked in the bathroom in Scream 1. And, again, they're changing just enough, or emphasizing a few other things just enough to kind of point out maybe what Gale and Dewey were doing, meaning like, was Gale blowing Dewey in her van? No, she wasn't, but she could have been. I don't know. Yeah. The thing about Doofy that I don't like is like Doofy has kind of taken over the role of Dewey in the pop culture because he's such a meme. And that sucks, for David Arquette and the legacy of Dewey Riley. And that's kind of like something Scream struggled with between the year 2000 and I guess 2022 when Scream 5 came out, was Scary Movie kind of like colonizing the space of the greatness of Scream. So, the seriousness of Ghostface and like the seriousness of Drew Barrymore and this like the Dewey of it all. Scary Movie was seen as more prominent and overshadowed those accomplishments of Scream and kind of made them less important and less, I don't know, made them into more of a joke. And that's part of the problem with Scary Movie as a Scream fan. Isn't it funny, like, the fact that she's talking about the First Amendment and this is a movie kind of like somewhat examining the First Amendment. I don't know. So I love the actual Ghostface mask in this shot. It's so cool. And how we see him running behind the tree. Obvious nod to Halloween. Very fun. Like, that is one of my favorites of the movie, is like this, is that scene where she looks out the window and we see Ghostface running behind the tree, because it's, so I know what you did last Halloween, ! And Bobby and Sydney having romantic picnics somewhere. I don't know. And he is, of course, shoving a hot dog into her mouth, because I guess that's what Billy Loomis wanted to do to Sidney Prescott. And that's why he, killed Casey Becker and wanted to kill her. And I don't know. And we see the second note. Hysterical. So funny. No, bitch. I'm talking about the guy you killed. Funny. But I guess like what the Wayans brothers are saying with like using the First Amendment here is like, we're allowed to poke fun at a movie that, even though like I don't think that the Wayans brothers would say that they hate Scream or think that it's so dumb and so insulting, but if you just twist a couple of things, you can make anything funny. And that's kind of what Scary Movie's doing, especially because they overemphasize sex and drugs and a lot of people find it funny. So my view of course, this scene is recreating Sydney going into the principal's office where Dewey's there and the sheriff and Principal Hembry. Yeah. Poop jokes. We again, this is boy humor. I'm sorry. Sex, poop, and pot, I guess. All boy jokes. So, okay, I want to talk about Scary Movie in terms of like how I see it, because this scene doesn't really do anything for me with these pictures that the sheriff shows Cindy. Or maybe that's at the police station. I don't know. But I didn't really know her. This is funny. Okay, never mind. I take that back. Don't bullshit her. It's kind of funny. Like the way that he keeps pushing her, and she's like the least likely person to need like this kind of interrogation, but it's funny. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this public preview of the commentary for this month. If you would like to listen to the complete audio commentary for the movie, please head on over to Patreon, Scream with RCS, subscribe at any tier to get the audio for this movie, for the audio commentary. Or if you subscribe at a higher tier, tier 2 or above, you can get the video for me performing the commentary while watching the movie. So again, everybody, thank you so much for supporting the podcast.